It'll give us, now we're live. Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Fry. I am the Chief Mom Officer at Business Among Moms, or BAM, as we like to call it. And today, for our member spotlight, I have with me Pauline Osborne of Moving to Heal. So welcome, Pauline. We're happy to have you here. That's my jazz hands.
I always like to do the jazz hands, right?
I've got to start the morning with the jazz hands.
Did people see the question? What
I have posted, yes. What do you think the root cause of low energy is? So that's our question for you.
So yeah, I'd love it if participants could go ahead and make comments about what that might be, and then we can kind of answer that as we go through. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Pauline Osborne. My business is Moving to Heal. My background actually is I'm a registered nurse. And I'm a NIA teacher, and
for those who don't know what NIA is, can you explain what that is?
So NIA is a joyful healing dance class. So it's an opportunity to get into your bodies, to be able to express, to get out of your heads and really get into sensation. And there's so much to it that sometimes it's hard to describe, and people go, well, what's NIA? And I'm like, you just have to take a class.
Yeah.
And I, if you go to my Moving to Heal Facebook page, I often post different lives, and I have a Moving to Heal YouTube channel, so you could go and kind of check it out and get a sense of what it's like. But for me, it's really been, my background has been in nursing. I went to nursing school. I went to nursing school to be a nurse, to be a bedside nurse, to take care of people. And I actually got into NIA when I was in nursing school, and I'd done step aerobics for a year, and I've been jogging and running, and it kind of killed my knees. And I found NIA, and I was like, oh, I am home. I can work out, and it's fun. Wait, a workout can be fun?
And it looks so beautiful when I've seen you do it before. So we'll definitely share one of your live videos of you doing NIA into the comments piece of this so that people can see it.
That'd be great. But for me, in a lot of ways, NIA has steered my career in a lot of ways, because I wanted to go beyond just focusing on treating illness. My background has been as an oncology nurse. It's been as an educator, evidence-based practices, policy improvement. And the thing is, in the heart of all the work that I was doing, I really wanted to help people heal and move forward in their lives, and not just treat an illness, but actually get to the root cause. And when I left I left the hospital as a CNS in 2000. It's been 7 years now. When I left, I really wanted to kind of shift away from that disease-centered model and focus on health and healing. And I'd been doing some advocacy work, going to doctor's appointments with clients, helping sort through their health information, making sure they had the team they needed. I tended to work with people who had mental health issues and were dealing with chronic pain. Mm-hmm. But I still wasn't quite getting to the meat of why I left the hospital environment. And in last year, I found out about a program that's a health coaching program through the Academy of Integrative Medicine. And it finally resonated. I had been looking at health coaching programs for a long time, but it really could integrate my background in nursing and medicine and healthcare well into the health coaching world. So it gives me an opportunity to get to the root cause of why people are having health issues. So not just diagnosing and treating, but so what's really going on? Why are you having problems with your mood? Why are you having problems with your energy? Why are you having this autoimmune? What's really the underlying cause? And I got this ability and trained in being able to do testing. So looking at adrenals and hormones, looking at your gut health through stool testing, food sensitivity testing. Eventually, genetic testing is more of an advanced training, though I'm already starting to kind of play with that a little bit now. So looking at those pieces and beginning to help people develop a more targeted plan of care to look at correcting their imbalances instead of let me try this, and let me try this, and let me try this. It's okay, well, let's get your
slapping Band-Aids on everything, right?
Yes, and it can get overwhelming. There's so much information on the internet, and how do you sort through that information? And so part of my job is to really help, get the data from objective data, but also get the client experience in their story. How's your sleep? What have been some of the events in your life that could have triggered some of the health issues you're having going on. So really get a complete detailed history, and then also look at the test results and then develop, okay, based on this, here's, recommendations for diet, for exercise, for sleep, for supplements. Sometimes I refer out to like a hypnotherapist to kind of address some of the stressors in the life. So it's really kind of more focused in a lot of ways. But the big thing for me is also about listening to my clients and listening, and also teaching my clients to listen to their bodies, right? Because we get so sometimes if we're not feeling well, we start to detach from our bodies. And the big thing is about getting into your body and beginning to listen. So that's kind of my goal, is to teach my clients to listen to their bodies and then work with that. I can have some basic protocols I can use, but sometimes that's not going to work for my client. And so I have the opportunity to listen to my client and say, okay, well, what's going to work? Let's adjust it. There's something about being flexible, and my goal is to be a guide and to be a coach and a mentor and a cheerleader. And sometimes yes, hands. And sometimes we'll move, and sometimes we'll meditate in the coaching session. So, it's been fun because I really do blend a lot. So I know that's a bit of a background, but so
that's great. And I think it's so needed in this day and age when you go to the doctor for something and everyone's a specialist. And so they're trying to get to the, fix the problem that's showing up this way, rather than looking at why are you even having this problem in the first place. So I think what you do is really, really valuable and important. And I appreciate you sharing that with the people that will see the video. So back to your question that you posed of what do you think the root cause of low energy is? Mariola, thanks for responding. She says frame of mind.
That's a piece of it. That's a piece of it. And I'd say, because this is abroad, it's stress. When you really think about it, it's stress. Now, it can be your perceived reactions to stress and what is stressful, because, but it also can be environmental. It can be, what are you eating? How are you sleeping? It can be things you've been exposed to growing up, whether it was secondhand cigarette smoke or it was certain pesticides, so those things along the way. So stress can happen in a variety of ways, and stress is the root cause. And so that frame of mind is how you perceive certain things in your life as stressful. And that's a huge part of actually the work I do. It's like 50% is that. 50% of the work, if you want to start feeling better and improve your energy and your mood, 50% is that perceived sense of how you react to stress in that frame of mind. 25% of it is supplements, and 25% of it is lifestyle. It's the exercise and the sleep. So great job.
That is awesome. Yeah.
That was an awesome response. So it's fun to hear that. And I think
Mariola is also a scientist, so she knows her stuff.
And I think what's important to realize, though, is we're complex. As human beings, our systems are complex. We're intertwined in so many different ways. We have multiple different systems. You have your gut, you have your brain, you have your liver, you have your heart, you have your lung. There's so many things that are complex, but they're all interconnected. And when you start to affect one system, if one system starts to go haywire, so maybe our perceived sense of stress, our mind, our thoughts start to go out of balance, that can affect our whole system. And I don't have my whiteboard here, but one of the things I wanted to talk about was the effects. Often there's a physiological response that happens in our bodies to stress. And that could be mental stress, emotional, spiritual, physical, environmental. There's different types. It could be genetics. Certain genetics can cause certain things to happen based on your lifestyle and what you eat and drink and things like that. So there's a lot of different things that can play a role in it. And I think sometimes what we forget about, we're just tired because we're getting older.
Yes. Or our kids, where we have little kids, and they're sucking us dry.
We're tired. We can't sleep very well. We're irritable. We're maybe feeling a little more anxious and maybe a little more depressed, and all those things start to kind of happen.
Yeah.
But there's a physiological response that occurs in our body, and it's not just in your head, and I think I want people to realize that it's not. Sometimes we can definitely make some changes in our lives, but things can get out of balance, and sometimes people need a little bit more support. And I'm gonna take a moment and try to write this, because I have a whiteboard, but the markers are in the other room, and a counselor's using that room right now. So I'm gonna draw something here.
Okay.
I like to use imagery a little bit, and we'll see how this works, since we can't screen share. And so most people know about fight or flight, right? That sense of, our bodies were designed for fight or flight, for survival, to be able to run from the tiger. Okay. Yep. So when we run from the tiger, we're not focused on resting. We're not focused on digestion. Our heart rate goes up. Our mind, our thoughts, we're not focused there. We have to run. Okay. That's where our body is going. It's running and running and running. And the problem is in our day and age, and our society, it's very common that we're constantly in that state of fight or flight. We're constantly in that place of chronic stress. It's not just this kind of acute kind of, the tiger comes in and we run. It's like, okay, I perceive that as stressful. I perceive that as stressful. Oh, that is stressful. My body's reacting because of those chemicals. So all these things start to come in. And so what happens is there's a hormone called cortisol that helps you run from the tiger. And in order to keep running from the tiger, so I don't know if you can see this very well. Can you?
Stress. Hold it up just a little bit higher. Well, yeah, perfect. And then a little further away from the screen. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so
I always to say you have a stress bucket and you have a hormone bucket. And when you're running from the tiger, what happens is you actually start to steal from the hormone bucket into the stress bucket.
Okay.
To make more cortisol to run from the tiger. So what kinds of hormones that are so important for our vitality do we start to steal from? Our thyroid, our progesterone, our estrogen, our melatonin. So these are hormones that are important for our energy, our mood, our vitality, our sexuality. The melatonin helps with sleep. So these are all really hormones that are really important. And even now we're learning a lot more about oxytocin and how oxytocin can be beneficial, and that can start to get depleted. And sometimes supplementing with oxytocin can be helpful for mood and energy and those kinds of things. And there's a lot of research going there, which just fascinates me. But what happens is you're stealing from that bucket. Yeah. And the hormones start to get out of whack. And that's the physiological response. So if you have this bucket, and here, let me draw this here. And there's all these holes. Can you see it?
Yep.
There's all these holes in the bucket, right? What you have to do is start to figure out how to patch that bucket. And that's part of what I do is help work with clients on how we can patch this bucket so you don't steal from these hormones.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of times also providing some supplements so we can start to fill this bucket.
Okay.
So if you don't address the stressors here, you're just basically, dumping money down a drain.
Yeah. Yeah. Right?
So you have to be able to.
That's a great analogy and a great visual explanation of what happens. So thank you for that. Really good.
You're welcome. So the other thing that happens a lot of times, there's been a lot of talk about gut and the gut microbiome and how important that is to our health. It's like the second brain. And we're starting to find out that our gut is really often the source. A lot of imbalances begin to happen in the gut that often cause autoimmune and all those things. Well, sometimes the thing that throws things off in the gut, though, is stress. Right? It's stress that starts to affect our gut and to start to shift things and cause things out of balance. So you might get things where you start to get what we call kind of leaky gut. So the cells within the gut wall are opening up and it's more permeable. So you actually start to get spaces. So when food goes in, it doesn't get broken down in time. And so it's a big molecule, and then it goes into the body, goes into the bloodstream, and your body says, oh, that's foreign, I'll react to it. Okay, so that's where you get inflammation. That's where you start to get reactions. So that's one system that starts to kind of fail, often because of stress, whether it's the psychological, the emotional, or maybe you have certain genetics, so you're more likely to react to gluten. You know, and that starts to cause damage to those cell walls. So that's a piece, or you're exposed to a parasite or some other types of toxins that can cause damage. And so what can also happen is you can get that leaky gut that we call, and that can affect your energy. That can affect your mood. You know, some of the biggest food triggers for causing low energy and mood changes is the big triggers are wheat.
Okay. Writing this down in the comments. Food triggers.
Okay.
Wheat. You know about that one.
Dairy and sugar. You know, so if someone's having low energy, you know, maybe cut it out. But the thing is, you can't just cut it out for 2 weeks. It's often you have to cut out foods for 4 to 6 weeks if you think that might be something that's actually causing part of your issues. So it's not a necessarily cut and dry thing. The other thing that starts to happen is we have all this good bacteria in our gut, and we even have some candida. But what can happen is you start to actually get an imbalance of that bacteria. So bacteria that's maybe supposed to be in the lower gut starts to get into the upper part of the gut. And so you get gas and you get bloating, and that also can affect your energy. Sometimes you start to get imbalances with candida overgrowth. So you get more yeast. So if you're having vaginal discharge and itching or a rashy skin or kind of more brain fog or feeling tired, that could be a sign that there's something going on with yeast. So those are all things that have to start to be corrected. And it's not necessarily, you know, with yeast particularly, sometimes people just take diflucan or they take monostat or they do something, but that's usually not enough because it can become a chronic thing and that can affect your energy and that can affect your mood. And usually you have to look at changing your diet. How do you reduce some of the carbohydrates, for example? You look at how do you deal with some of the stressors. And even a stressor could be like you have mercury fillings. You know, that's something that often gets missed. If you're releasing mercury constantly. And I might have a link. There's a YouTube video that actually shows the gassing of mercury fillings when you eat.
Nice. Yeah.
It can expose. So that's
I actually just talked to my dentist about having my old metal fillings removed.
Okay. And the big thing is you want to make sure it's done in a safe way that reduces your exposure and their exposure when it's taken out. But a lot of times what's important also is to look at maybe even, you know, detoxing, doing some kind of detoxification before you do that. And, you know, start it before and do it during the process so you can help clear out some of those toxins, help your body get that out. But that can also be a big stressor that people don't always think about.
Yeah, totally.
So, but yes.
This is good stuff, man. You are such a wealth. I knew you were a wealth of information, but this is really good nuggets. So if people are wanting to connect with you further or learn more about how you work with clients, where can they find you and where would you suggest they check you out? I'll put this in the comments too.
Okay, so my website is movingtoheal.net. And you can also find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook page called Moving to Heal. And then I have a YouTube channel. And you can just go to YouTube and type in Moving to Heal, and you should see me come up. And you'll see some Nia videos. You'll see some video blogs. And people can also just book a free 30-minute consultation with me to talk about what their concerns might be and see how I can help them. I mean, part of it is really looking at how do you begin to correct those stressors along the way. And I am there to kind of guide you and support you and be there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Pauline. This was a great chat. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I know those that see it will learn a lot. So thank you. I really appreciate you and your wealth of knowledge and experience. And I will share one of your Nia videos to the comments too.
Great. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, you're so welcome. So this is something that we do every Friday. We spotlight one of our members that is interested in doing a Facebook Live. Pauline happens to be here in the Seattle area, although we're about 45 minutes or so away from each other. But we're able to do this with anyone, anywhere in the world, which is pretty cool. So if you're interested in the other benefits that go along with membership in our great community, you can check us out at businessamongmoms.com. So have a wonderful, wonderful long weekend, and we will see you all next Friday. And thanks again, Pauline. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.